Why did you go to see this movie?
Because I was bored. I've been without going to the movie theater for 3 weeks.
But I thought you hated the first film!
Yeah, I know. I hated the first movie. I still do.
Oh really? Are you some kind of masochist?
Look, sometimes you have to watch bad stuff in order to appreciate the good stuff too. So, let's call this a little bit of a hobby.
Some hobby you have, you wishy-washy pussy.
Look, how about this? Let me do the talking. Then I will how could I say? I'll go outside and then I will treat you to eat bad people, okay?
You better keep that promise.
Okie dokie. Oh, hey everyone. As you can see, I was talking with my inner symbiote. Okay, I was just playing around. Okay, so from what you can tell from that conversation, I just came back from watching Venom, There Be Carnage, which is the second movie of the Fox version of Venom. Now it's kind of hard to say now because now that Disney took over Fox. Wow. You know what? Here's the thing. I hated the first movie so much that I kind of even forgot it off my head. I just removed it out of my mind so much that before I started doing this review, I rewatched my own vlog in order to kind of try to remember the pieces of the first Venom movie, and man, remember that I did kind of said that maybe it was for the best for Disney to buy the Venom in order to, you know, incorporate it into its probably cinematic universe. Boy, that sometimes I was kind of nailed it. I was kind of right in which that kind of happened. So sometimes my thoughts and my predictions scares me. Oh my god. But listening to my own vlog, there's some things that I still hold up. I still hold up that I don't like the movie. I still hold up that there are some bad directions. But what I never expected is that apparently somehow this is one of those movies that it somehow managed to become a little bit of one of those movies that people begin to forgive it. They begin to forgive this film. I've seen that regular moviegoers are actually beginning to like this film. Or some even people that are kind of becoming a little bit more of a soft spot, which I never expected that, considering that the movie is still garbage, in my opinion at least. But anyway, this is a little bit of something that I wanted to spat out of my mind before I talk to you about I'm not gonna say much of like an expected sequel, but mostly kind of like a forced sequel in my opinion, because the first one did indeed give us a teaser that we're gonna get a sequel in which this time they're gonna put Cletus Cassidy to the Venom movie, you know, Carnage, and it's gonna star Woody Harrelson. Well, it felt like one of those sequels that it was done because of the contract instead of, you know, saying that, hey, our first movie was successful. I don't remember if it was successful or not. Maybe it was. But anyway, so I tried to go there a little bit with an open mind. And also, like I said, I was bored. At least I needed to see something, because it was either that or the Addams Family 2. And honestly, I didn't feel for an Addams Family movie. So I went there, and here's my initial thoughts of There Be Carnage. I'm gonna say that it's a good thing that I just went with a little bit kind of like open-minded. I felt like I wanted to give this movie a little bit more of tolerant view. So somehow this movie kind of gives some few steps forward, but also a little bit kind of like step backwards compared to the other one, because as far as I can remember, and when I saw it for my vlog, the first movie had a big kind of like, it has big problem of being very cringy, horrible in the editing, and it has a lot of plot holes. And now that I kind of ignore that, it kind of made the kind of like the sequel, in my experience, a little bit more tolerable. So I ended up kind of enjoying the film from what it is, but that doesn't mean that the movie came out perfect. It also comes up with probably big problems, or depending on your perspective. It has problems. It has kind of like big problem, but there's some things that it did improve from the first movie, but also some things that it didn't learn, I would say. And there are some moments that is still a little bit cringy, I'll say. Although my personal experience is not as cringy. It didn't come off, luckily, as cringy as that restaurant scene from the first movie. I still hold that this restaurant scene from the first movie really cringy. It was embarrassing, and Spider-Man 3 dance sequence level of embarrassing. But either way, I think I talked enough about this one, so let's get on with my take on Venom, Let There Be Carnage. So like always, let's go. Let me try to give a synopsis of the second Venom movie. So this one, of course, takes place right after the first movie, and we still have Tom Hardy playing Eddie Brock. He still has Venom inside of him, but this time we also have him being his. Apparently, he had his kind of like his childhood friend in the, which is of course Cletus Cassidy, again played by Woody Harrelson from that mid-credit scene from the first movie. Although in this case, it's kind of weird that this time they decided to. They decided to change the Woody Harrelson haircuts compared to the first movie, because in this one, the first one he had kind of like this carrot top head with curly hair or something like that, but this time it has a new haircut. So I don't know what happened, why they decided to do that, but okay, but anyway. So basically, thanks to the help of Venom, Eddie Brock happened to find clues about Cletus murders that somehow happened sometime before. So he reported them, and this was evidence enough for Cletus to become subjugated for the death penalty. And of course, Cletus is angry, not only because of that, because a long time ago he was also separated from a lover of his, played by someone played Frances Berenson. I'm sorry, IMDb, played by Naomi Harris, who basically also has the power of screaming and sound waves, almost like Black Canary from the DC Comics. But anyway, what I will say is that during an interview with Eddie Brock and before going to death row, Cassidy basically bites off Eddie Brock, and because he tasted some of that blood, he also tastes some of the symbiote, and so in that moment he becomes Carnage, and as Carnage, of course, he basically frees his lover from this mental asylum, but then at the meantime, you're not gonna believe this, but you'd also have this subplot which involves Eddie Brock apparently having a fallout with Venom himself, mostly because Eddie Brock is angry that his ex-fiance, what was it? Her name was Anna Wayne. She played by Michelle Williams. She finally got engaged to the other guy. What was his name again? Ray Scott. Played by Ray Scott. Ray Scott. So after fighting, because saying that he has to be more assertive, or something that because Eddie Brock doesn't let Venom eat bad people. So apparently they got kind of like this fallout in which Venom is like, "That's it, you're on your own. I'm out of here." So, man. So honestly, the way I talk, it makes you think that I was talking about two different plots, which it kind of goes that way. It kind of, and the whole movie, it felt like one of those classic cartoon. It kind of felt like one of those classic cartoon episodes in which two partners, they have a fallout and they decide to go in separate ways, and while going into separate ways, they kind of say that I'm nothing without the other one. So after a big catastrophe comes out, then they decide, okay, I was a jackass. Okay, I was a jackass, and then they fight. They join together to fight a bigger evil. That's you see, if you seeing a lot of cartoons or sometimes movies like that, it feels familiar. Which it's not a. You might find me saying that it is an easy complaint, but I'm not exactly complaining. I'm just stating something, and it's something, and that's how I felt during kind of like the whole movie. I will say again that some of the execution of the stories, I was okay with it. There were some moments in which I did kind of like, oh my god, they did do that, but not as much as the restaurant scene from the last movie. I'll get to that in kind of like in a few moments. But I will say some things about the characters, which this is where most of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Marvel characters, it's the moment where what makes them shines in a way. So let's go on a little bit with the acting right now. I always, the more I think about Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock, I still think that he's a little bit too old for the role. Although, for the benefit of the doubt, I mean, even you're kind of like 50 or 40 or something like that. We always want to, play the role of kind of like a younger hero or something like that. Although it's kind of, so a little bit I begin to kind of reconsider that. Although the acting of Tom Hardy is almost a little bit the same like the first one, which I did, while watching my vlog, I did kind of praise Tom Hardy's acting, because he's a good actor. He's a good actor. Although physically I never see him as Eddie Brock, but seeing his performance when he talks with the Venom creature, somehow I get the feeling that sometimes he kind of overacts a little bit. I'll say he kind of overacts a bit. There are his interaction with Venom, I'll say that is probably some of the biggest highlights in the second movie, because I think that this is a little bit of an improvement compared to the first movie, at least in my personal opinion. But there's something very curious that I do want to talk about this. A few days ago, I saw a video article in which one of them, it kind of begins to complain a little bit, you know how people on the internet sometimes do. It kind of begins to complain that that they're gonna add some kind of gay romance between Eddie Brock and probably the symbiote. I kind of didn't either believe it and if it was gonna be there, I didn't even care. But still kind of like an interesting take-up. But I still kind of didn't believe it. I just had to watch it to believe it. So, and honestly, when I was watching the movie, and the more I saw the banter and the relationship of Eddie Brock and Venom, I think that it was kind of half true. Half true. Because it was kind of funny that the banter between between Eddie Brock and the symbiote, they argue like they're a dysfunctional married couple. That's how kind of hilarious it came out into my mind. It was like, oh my god, just kiss already. That's how it went. You have to see it to believe it. And if I'm wrong, please tell me so, because this was some of the funniest speculations I had with this film. Okay, well, the other actors are doing fine, nothing much impressive, but I do have to talk about Woody Harrelson as Carnage, in which honestly he doesn't do a bad job. He does good as Carnage. But if I want to nitpick, again, it has a little bit of the same problems that many people will nitpick on the actor himself, in which he is a little bit too old to play Cletus Cassidy as Flash Carnage. But look, again, I'm not gonna go too much into that. Because he's doing good at the role. But for some reason I kind of wish they could kept him with the curly hair. Although, if I had to also nitpick another thing about his acting, is that honestly I kind of wish that the overacting that Tom Hardy do could have been shared mostly to Woody Harrelson, because honestly, for a character that is supposed to be psychotic, that one is kind of like the role that needed to be overacted. It's kind of like I wanted him to be kind of like the Joker, I'll say, like, you know, like embracing the villainous side, embracing the carnage, because that's what his name is. He's Carnage. Let it be Carnage. Honestly, that's what it needed in his acting. I will say some other elements, but that'll come later. So, but I'll say that the other actors are doing fine in their role. Oh yeah, now that I think about it, I do want to add something about Naomi Harris, in which, despite her, I have a little bit of a nitpick on her role. Her acting is actually really good, I'll say. Her relationship with Cletus, it's kind of like those. It kind of reminded me, you know, like Bonnie and Clyde, but in a more psychotic way. That's the big thing I can say about this. All right, cinematography. The cinematography, I will say that it kind of have a little bit of. It's still this kind of like the same as the last movie, that some parts feel a little bit choppy. Some parts it does feel like that there's some parts that it feels like it is missing. Some action scenes are a little bit too close, I'll say. Although there are some parts that it kind of improved compared to the first movie, I'll say. The movie is directed this time by Andy Serkis, which is, I don't know if, was it directed also in the first movie? Sorry about that. No, I doubt it. but I think that, and you know what? Okay, let's go with the cinematography, in which I think there are a few improvements from the last movie. It's in camera work and some of the editing. But I will say that you can notice that it still has some of the same problems like the last one, in which sometimes it feels like some moments are missing. Sometimes it feels like the action is a little bit too close to the action in order to appreciate it. But I'll give it this. There are some moments in which it does feel like there is some slight improvement compared to the first one. Although, again, just like the other one, most of the action scenes, you can tell that is CGI. Considering that now we're talking, not only we have one CGI creature, but two this time. So there's nothing much I have to say about kind of like these special effects, in which, again, they're kind of good. Although there is something that I do want to complain when it's about a bit of character design, I would say. Because one thing I will say is that, like I told you, there's a moment in which, of course, Eddie Brock and Venom have this fallout, and since Venom needs a host to survive, he basically just begins to possess other people, basically kind of like killing them inside or something like that. But here's kind of like my complaint to it, is that when he assimilates to other people, his design doesn't change a bit. He never changes his design according to the complexity of the body, because and it's been shown. I think it has been shown a little bit on the comics. I haven't read most of them, but the thing is that whatever the symbiote possesses a body, in the case of Eddie Brock, it kind of takes form a little bit considering the body proportion of that person. But the more when he possesses other people, he technically kind of stays bulky, muscular, and kind of like the same proportions like Eddie Brock. So it doesn't feel like he's possessing another person. So maybe they should have. They kind of missed the chance to play out the different proportions of Venom instead of making a copy-paste situation. I mean, they did it. I mean, with the She-Venom, of course, for lack of better words to still explain that. In which, yeah, they should have played out with a little bit with the body proportion of those moments. But that's kind of like my nitpick on the design and cinematography part. And now I think I should also talk about some of the story elements, some other elements about this film, in which I already told you about kind of like the humor, in which it comes up a little bit cringy sometimes, or sometimes it kind of like they try a little bit too hard. Although for the benefit of the doubt, it's still not as embarrassing as the restaurant scene from the last film. Although still they're trying to rely on the humor about Eddie Brock having kind of like a second mind that is kind of nitpicking him to say, "Hey, no, you can't say that." Which honestly, again, is probably some of the better parts of the movie. Sometimes it's kind of like hit or miss. Another story element that it kills off some of the tension of the movie. Again, just like the other one, this one begs to be a little bit more than a PG-13 rating, because if you know, Venom is one of the most violent Marvel characters in the Marvel universe. Let alone, of course, Carnage. Carnage is one of the most psychotic psychotic villains and probably one of the most evil villains in Marvel Cinematic Universe. But okay, Carnage let it slide for a while. But here's the thing: there's still off-screen head bitings, just like the last movie, which kind of begs you to see it. There's still some PG-13 kills. Some few moments of blood. There's some moments, of course, that you see bodies lying around, but it kind of makes you wish that you could have seen a little bit, well, like the movie says, carnage. It kind of begged for that, I'll say. And what else I could say? I think I should also say about some other elements about Carnage. For one, I did like that they kept his psychotic backstory, in which, I'm not gonna lie, there is kind of like an animated section in which when he talks about his past, and it has kind of like this, Tim Burton-like character designs, in which it tells basically the backstory of Cletus Cassidy. And that part I actually love. I really love that part. It remains faithful to the original origins, in which he is basically a crazy boy, a psychotic boy who basically, with no remorse, he just pushes his grandmother from the staircase. Then he kills off his mother and kills off the dog. And then when they found out, they put him into a mental asylum. But then adding a girlfriend of him, a love interest, this is where I think it went hit or miss with me, honestly. Because I don't think that it needed that. They just added her mostly for the reason that she was mostly used as kind of like a little bit as a chestnut gun. This character was more of a chestnut gun in order to say that, okay, she has the power of sonic sound wave screams, because, well, the symbiotes are fragile to sound. So this is the reason why they have this character. But also this character was probably added because apparently they wanted to humanize Cletus Cassidy more. Or a little bit, as much as it is say. I think that that's something that Marvel has been doing a lot now, in which we're trying to feel that even psychotic characters have a little bit of kind of like the broken people deep inside, that we could probably understand it. For the purists, I'll say that this is kind of like a bad move, because it's been years that now it is established that Carnage is a very violent character. He is, the name says it, he is Carnage. He doesn't care for anybody. He just wants the world just being destroyed by his hand. He loves killing because he is a psychopath. And so I do have a little bit of a mixed feelings to give him kind of like a love interest, and man, that I was just kind of questioning it. Unless this love interest character is also a character from the Marvel comics that I might have missed. So if I am in the dark about this, please let me know. Ah, man. So honestly, I think this is pretty much everything that I have to say about this, except one more thing that I do want to add, and is that I will say that probably the best part of the movie is the mid-credit scene. There is a mid-credit scene. I'm not gonna spoil you what it is, but the only thing that I will say is that the audience, the few audience that was in my movie theater, they were like, no way, and I was like, wow. It was something that they should have done from the very beginning. But of course, now they have their chance. Maybe I gave you a big clue now. But still, I'm not gonna exactly reveal what it is. But still, only that part is probably what made this movie experience worth it. And that's all I have to say about Venom, Let It Be Carnage. Personally, again, it was kind of like a few steps forward, but also a still few steps backwards. I personally think that it was less cringy than the first movie. There's some things that it does feel missing. Now that kind of reminded me that if I had to complain about the story, is that they did kind of wanted to build up that there was some kind of friendship between Eddie Brock and Cletus Cassidy. Never established, just in case. But still, maybe also I'm not complaining so much because the pain wasn't exactly too much. This was that was actually a shorter movie than a regular Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is fine. It feels kind of like it was kind of like coming back from those 90s style hero movies, and from, if you call Venom a hero. It was okay. I still a little bit below average compared to others. Not much I have to say. The only thing that this movie needed is more carnage. I mean, it was in the name, so it is disappointing that it didn't live up to the name of Let There Be Carnage when there is, well, barely carnage.